Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video we're going to be sewing one of my favorite dress patterns. I've already made this dress several times and now it's time to make it in a Christmas print. I used to reserve this dress strictly for summer and spring wear, but now that I have a beautiful swing coat to keep me warm, I decided to make a winter weathered version. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Thesewrena_. You can also support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And if you'd like to support me further, you can leave me a virtual tip on Ko-fi. The link will be in the description. Now let's get into the video. For the pattern, I'm going to be using Simplicity 2093, and it is this cute midriff dress with a very full skirt. This is one of my favorite patterns ever. I've already made it twice before and I never turned down an opportunity to make it. And here is the back. You have the fabric requirements. It's available in a junior and Mrs. size range, and these are the pattern pieces. It's a really simple dress to make, but I feel like you get a huge payoff for your time. Time for my fabric. Today I have this red and green Christmas dotted fabric, and it has two different shades of green, a darker and a lighter shade of green. And then I have some trims. I'm not sure what I want to use. I have this green satin trim, and then I have some of that red dotted scrap trim. I also have some scrap fabric on the left. It's some cotton, and I was thinking I should use some piping for the midriff, but we'll see what I decide to go with as we go on through the video. It's time to cut the bodice. I've already cut the skirt out. I like to lay the skirt pattern out to make sure I have enough before I even cut, because this pattern requires so much fabric for the skirt. It's 4 pieces that's almost salvage to salvage, plus it's really long, so that does take up majority of the fabric. But once that's cut, because they're just 4 rectangles, then you just have to cut the bodice pieces out. The only adjustments I made to the bodice was to reduce some of the midriff, I think 1/4 of an inch on the front and the back pieces of the midriff, and then apart from that I kept the dress exactly the way that it is. As you can see, I've been transferring all the markings to the fabric so that I can sew. On this part, I should have put the markings on the interfacing, because you do have to interface the midriff. I use sew-in interfacing. However, it didn't really matter because you can see straight through the interfacing because the interfacing is sheer enough. So I just laid the interfacing on top and then I sew the darts in. Also, you should probably baste the interfacing on first. That's the correct way to do things, but I was running out of white thread. What's new on my channel? So I just had to skip all of that basting and go straight to sewing the darts directly on, and it worked out, but definitely not the right way to do things. My channel has grown so much since my very last video, so I wanted to welcome all the newcomers. Hi, welcome. It is nice to have you here. And as you can tell from the video that probably brought you to my channel, the walkaway dress challenge video, I love prints. So a lot of you recommended that I should have made the dress in solids, but for me, a pattern doesn't work if it doesn't work well with prints, because I just love prints. That's why we're working with prints today. I am a very loud, vibrant person when it comes to the way that I dress, and it's probably because I'm a quiet person in general. So I allow my outfits to do the talking for me. So unless I am wearing like wool or a suit, I'm usually wearing solids for those, and then I'll wear print for everything else. It's just my style. It's what I like. Novelty is my thing. I also really love cotton, so you will definitely see a lot of cotton because I am a mom of toddlers, and so I like for my clothing to not only be beautiful, but they need to be washable as well. And so because I do actually wear all of my clothes all the time, they need to be practical in the sense that I can laundry them really well and not have my feelings hurt by having fancy fabric ruined. And here's a little tip. Dirt and stains are easier to hide when your outfit isn't solid. So another really good thing for me to wear prints is because if it's something I cannot get out, it's usually really easy to hide when it's a printed fabric as opposed to a solid fabric. So that's a little rundown about me, just a little quick introduction to me and my sewing. I don't think I've ever gone into detail about why I choose the fabrics that I do. I know a lot of the people that's close to me know why I choose fabric cottons mostly, but I don't think I ever really get into detail when it comes to my fabric choices. So back to the sewing of this dress. Now I'm just gathering the bust. The dress has some small gathers directly under the bust, so I'm putting into gathering lines under the right and the left side of the bust in between the two notches. Once I draw up my gathering stitches, I will attach the upper bodice to the corresponding midriff piece, and then from there we start working on the collar. I went with the red looped trim. I thought it would look really nice and definitely a pop of color on a solid white collar. I've made this dress every single time with a solid white collar. I think it just looks so crisp and clean. So of course I did that again here, but then I decided to just add some red to the trim, and I thought it worked out really nicely. And because I wanted to use up all of this trim, instead of having more scraps of a scrap, I added some more to the midriff, which is where the midriff is where I wanted to put trim in the first place. So the collar was just a little extra. Now I am attaching the collar to the bodice. I did use a zigzag stitch for the trim, and I used the zigzag stitch for the bodice sections as well. Once I'm done with the collar, it's time to close up the side seams. So I am using French seams for my bodice. This is my favorite way to close up my garments. So of course you sew with the wrong sides touching first, trim the seam allowance, and then sew with the right sides together, and then you get a clean finish on the inside. The left side of the bodice will remain completely open because that's where the side zipper will be put in, so you have to put that on after the skirt is attached. The armholes are finished with bias tape that I was instructed to make myself. The only facing pieces the pattern provided was for the skirt. I had to make a facing piece for the back zipper at the neck, and then I also had to cover the neck seam with my own bias tape. Once all the trim is attached, the bodice is complete, and now I'm doing French seams on the skirt panels. That's just the wrong side sewn together, and then you trim the seam allowance, sew up the right sides, and then you have a clean finish on the inside. I do have a video of some easy seam finishes, and I'll leave that in the cards below so that way you can watch. Now I'm sewing the zipper facing for the opening where the zipper goes on the side seam, the left side seam. So I have to follow the marking that they provided. I'm going to sew essentially it's a stay stitch to keep the to cut the hole open, but to make sure that once you cut it open, it doesn't fray. So once you sew that, you're going to press it and flip it inside out, and then you're going to have to hand sew the pieces that's closest to that point. And I'm showing you that there. You're going to have to do some whip stitches right around that corner or point that I'm showing you, so that way it doesn't fall apart, because you have to cut very close to the stitching line, which will make it fall apart. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to flip it inside out and press it really nicely. After attaching the skirt to the bodice, I'm adding some more trim, and this trim is going to go directly above the waist seam, and I zigzag stitch this as close as possible to that seam so it flows really nicely and there's not a huge gap between the gathers and where the midriff starts. One thing I really like about how this pattern was drafted is that the skirt is so full that the gathers are tightly packed on the skirt, so you don't really have to worry about having to make even gathers because there's just so many of them that it's packed in really tight and really nicely, and they don't move around while you sew. After the last bit of trim is put on, then it is time to add on your zipper. And this zipper is not a lap zipper like most vintage dresses are. This one is hidden under the welts of the fabric. You'll be able to see what I am talking about in the very next clip. I was requested that I show some close-ups of the dress, and so I decided that I would try and put in some clips of the dress on the dress form before I wear it so that you can get a closer look of what the dress looks like. So here we are. This is the skirt, and look at that beautiful trim. I love this trim and I'm so glad I went with it because it kind of reminds me of Christmas lights a little. I have the collar pinned to help it stay down. I think the trim keeps it from staying down, so I'm going to add some little stitches to help hold it. That's usually what I do to my daughter's dresses. Then there is a close-up on those bust gathers. I love the little detail there. It definitely gives the bust a little bit of dimension. Then we finish off with the back of the dress and you're able to see the style zipper application I was talking about. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help my channel continue to grow. If you would like to follow me in real time, check out my Instagram at Thesewrena_. And to leave me a virtual tip, you can do that at Ko-fi. The link will be in the description. See you in the next one. Bye.